Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as LeBron's quest for that in-season tourney cup, man. Um, is he still a top two player in this league? Like, give it to Nikola Jokic, but this man, jeez.
You have to argue it at this point in time. It is unreal what we're seeing from year 21 LeBron. It's amazing. If it wasn't for, Tyrese Halliburton, the kid on the other side, I would be absolutely cheering LeBron all the way for the storyline. But man, his quest for greatness, it's undeniable at this point. Anyone who thinks that it's not LeBron and MJ as 1-2, regardless of how you feel, or LeBron versus whoever, they got a problem at this point in time.
Bro, like year 21 LeBron is going to win the first in-season tournament game or first in-season tournament title. And now you say like, okay, well, look, but Michael Jordan never had a shot to win an in-season tournament. And of course, 6-0 in the finals, he'd probably be, what, 13-0 in his career in that in-season tournament, right? Like Michael Jordan never loses. Um, this tournament came into existence 20 years after LeBron comes into the NBA, and he's still gonna win it. Like, this man, I'm serious, if he wins this and somehow they win the NBA championship and this man doesn't retire, like, I don't know what else he has
Honestly,
left to do in this league. Like,
it's
geez.
beautiful, man. It's beautiful to see, and not only is it just fantastic from a player of his caliber, but like the number of shots he's taking, the confidence, the cutting off the ball. Like, I'm pretty sure he hit three FU threes in a row at one point in that game, which,
From the logo, man.
like, this is like, what are we talking about? A guy who is this good, and Anthony Davis played well. We don't get to rip on Anthony Davis today. He was good next to LeBron, but anyone who still thinks that it's not, who thinks that this isn't LeBron's team, that LeBron is ready to just kind of walk away. Like, I agree with you, Matt, on the idea that, like, go out on glory, go out on greatness, but like, can he be stopped, man? Like, we keep saying, this is
Probably
going to
not.
be the year. This is going to be the year that it's not going to go well for LeBron, that he's going to start faltering. And time after time after time again, he's like, nah, man, I'm still here.
Bro, the league has more of a chance of stopping LeBron than I do of stopping my eye from running right now.
Seriously,
I
bro.
can't stop it.
He's
And like LeBron, he can't be stopped, man. It just is what it is. But let's return to the takes while I cry out of my left eye. Um, the Kings, man, they put up a valiant fight, but just couldn't get past.
there was the weird magic of both Tyrese Halliburton and Domantas Sabonis having the exact same stat, 26, 13, and 10 the night that they played. Pacers won, Kings didn't win though, so really interesting thought process of, the classic who won this trade between them, but yeah, the Kings let me down.
Underscored.
Underscore. The Kings let me down, you know what? But hey, I can't be that upset. They had a tough matchup that they were going up against. At the end of the day, the Pelicans looked like they wanted it in that first game. They were ready, unlike what they
Oh,
showed
yeah.
against the Lakers last night. Unfortunately, they were not ready to play.
You know what? Yeah, and you got Tyrese, man. I really thought the Celtics had them, but Tyrese came and went for that one. I can't believe he beat Boston. I can't believe he's beaten Milwaukee.
It's crazy.
This man is on his trajectory to be, a top 5 player, top 10 player in the NBA. Everybody's loving on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and might be Tyrese right now, who's that best young guard in the NBA. But over here, man, I did get my NBA picks right.
I'll
Just
give it to you.
those
Yeah, yeah.
those Philadelphia Eagles, man. I should have known. Like after having so many hard games, I just figured like they really want to get the 49ers, especially after all that trash the 49ers have been talking. Fortunately, I was wrong. 49ers look good. It is what it is.
I mean,
Oh well.
I would have been wrong right beside you. I'm always Team Eagles. They're the team that's always just hovering right under the radar, right there, making things
Yeah,
happen.
man.
But you got the NBA right, man. You're right there, and we're into a crazy season. The in season tournament is about to end tomorrow. We'll see which of the stars are out tonight. You know that Zion's probably out partying in Vegas tonight now that he's not playing anymore. You saw the
Him and
interview with him
Bi.
and Ingram. Yeah,
Yeah.
him and Bi talking about what they do if they win. Well, sadly they don't. They got to pay out of pocket now at this point for any partying.
Hey man, I'm pretty sure they can both afford it. So, I mean. you think about Zion and how much he gets paid and how much he's actually played, he's making some good money, you know? But I was gonna say, let's talk about a team that really didn't do anything in the in-season tournament, really hasn't done anything all year. Our beloved Toronto Raptors, who have just
Pain.
liked the mediocrity and the purgatory of the NBA for the last 3, 4 years. We've really, really enjoyed being right in the thick of that, eh?
It hurts, to really just not amount to anything, right? And did we go 0-4? I don't know. Did we win a game? I think we went 0-4. Either way, it doesn't matter. It felt like 0-4. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, we're just hanging out. This team is right in the middle. It's in purgatory. You look at the standings, we're at 11, which is, hey,
Yeah.
wait, just outside of everything. We don't do anything in the in-season tournament. We wouldn't make the play-in. Adam Silver's gift to all the teams that are middling that want to get a couple of playoff game money into the back pocket. Like, it sucks. It hurts. We talked about the importance of these games, and an 0-2 week, not what we want at
Buddy,
all.
it's just frustrating. 0-2 week. I mean, lose to the Knicks in a pretty flat performance. And then to play the Miami Heat without Bam Adebayo or Tyler Hero, and to lose and to like start the game 15-4, being
Yeah.
down 15-4 without Adebayo or Hero. Like, I was listening to the Will Lou podcast, and he was like comparing like who is like the Hero and Adebayo of our team equivalent, like an OG and a Scotty, like a Siakam and a Scotty, like a Schroeder and a Siakam. Like
Yeah.
we're not competing in those games, man. Like he's like we're done, and I think it really just underscores where we are, and I think we need to tear it down. I I don't. I think you go back like 5 weeks, 8 weeks, 10, 30 weeks. I've been saying this. I love Siakam. I think Siakam's great. I think he's one of the best players in franchise history. We've hit our ceiling with him. We can't do anything else. We're gonna lose him in free agency for nothing.
Yep.
Start it again. Could you imagine if we had traded him last year for Tyrese Halliburton or 2 years ago for Tyrese Halliburton? Could you imagine?
I mean,
Like, could you like imagine if we had traded Freddie for assets?
yeah.
What this team could look like if we had just gone after some shooting for Freddie? Like a Buddy Hield.
The
We
classic what
need that.
ifs, the classic what if scenarios, but also like this is a league of opportunity, right? You look at what certain players have been able to do when they get the ball in their hands, when they get to move out from a play. You look at what Kristaps Porzingis has had to go through to find a team that really meshes for what he wants. Now, it's great when you have two superstar players to play behind. That helps, right? But
Mhm.
it's about finding the right situations and making things happen. And if you think about the rising teams in the leagues right now, I'll include the past couple of seasons, right? Kings, Pacers, Grizzlies, the Magic right now. You think about what the T-Wolves have done, right? Yeah, a couple of trades here or there to make it happen, but you know what exists in all of those storylines? Is the team going, okay, we were good. We had our moments. We're gonna be bad now. We've got maybe one guy. Maybe we don't have our one guy, but we're gonna fire sale. We're gonna sell the lot. We're gonna get the guy to build around, and then we're gonna work around that guy. We have been close to wanting to make that decision. But every time we look like we're going to go left, we steer right and we go off the cliff a little bit on a decision that, hey, you know what? Maybe there's water down below. Maybe it's going to be a nice splashing landing. But more times than not, we're hitting the concrete at the bottom here. So it's been tough, man. It's been tough.
Well, yeah, man. It's just frustrating because you have, you know, I don't want to call them identical players, but they provide a very, very similar amount of the same thing. And having them on the court together is good, but they're too similar to be cohesive. I think like, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, yes, big wings, big defensive wings.
Yeah.
But on the offense, Scottie was more of a rebounder, playmaker, less of a scorer, and MJ is the scorer. With Scotty and Siakam, they both want to be the scorer, the playmaker, the rebounder. They do the same amount of stuff. I mean, we were just talking about their stats, man. Like 20.5 to 19.5 Siakam versus Barnes in points per game. 5 assists to 5.4 for Siakam versus Barnes. 7 rebounds for Siakam, 9.1 for Barnes. You talk about their percentages, they're almost identical except for the fact that Scotty is killing him in 3-point percentage.
Easily.
Absolutely murdering him. And then you take into the fact that he's got over an extra steal a game and he's got over an extra block a game. Like, why aren't we building around the young stud wing and maximizing the value on our old stud wing to bring in parts? Because, like, if we could get a guard and he pans out to be like Tyrese Halliburton, bro, we're unstoppable.
Well, and to expand on your stats marathon there as well, you didn't even mention the most important thing: the fact that Scotty has less turnovers, which shocked me when it came down to it, because Scotty is a guy who is young and wants the ball in his hand, and so you expect those guys to falter, right? You think Cade Cunningham would love to have less turnovers, but sometimes his guys on his team just aren't in the right spot when they should be. When you think about, let's not get into the we'll rip
The
on the Pistons. We'll rip on the Pistons later, but you think about the next step for this team, and you talk about the duo not working, and right now those are the two best guys in the league for us on
Yep.
our roster. What we can provide without making trades, what we have on our team. OG's great, he's fantastic, but his offense is a little bit more closed off, and he hasn't had the opportunity, as I was talking about earlier. And so you think about duos in the league, right? Siakam, Scotty. You think about the rest of the league. It's about making the Jenga pieces work together. There's always shooting. The closest example we can have is that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum example. But guess what? Those guys can shoot. Tatum can shoot the lights out of the building when he needs to be. That's the
And so
big
can
difference.
Brown.
Exactly. And so that's why we don't have that same capability of working with two guys that are so similar, because they're missing arguably the most important part of today's modern NBA, which is that shooting.
And like the kind of scary thing is like you bring up OG and like yeah, OG his offense is pretty limited. Yeah, he loves the power drive. I feel like that's his only move. He loves the two-step into a angry dunk like he's Zion Williamson or something out here. But this like he is a shooter.
Yeah.
And Siakam, as this young kid, or I mean, not Siakam, Barnes, is proving that he's a shooter. He's hitting almost 38% of his threes this year, compared that to 20% for Siakam. So you say that we can't have these two similar wing players and the shooting, but we can. When Scotty and OG are out there together, our team is great. You know, let's go maximize this value for Siakam. Let's go get us a young guard that we think could pop.
Yeah.
Like if we can do something like that, I really have faith that this team could turn it around and be a play-in team. Like we could get rid of the best player on our team, quote unquote, and lose the trade from a best player standpoint, and our team would get better. And that's my personal opinion. And I find it very hard for somebody to argue against that point.
And it's fun to think about too, because let's talk about a world where Siakam doesn't exist on this roster and we get a shooter, right? We've proven so far that Scotty and the bench unit that we have isn't great. They're losing their minutes. They're getting wrecked. They're getting destroyed. So in a world where Siakam exists, but we need Scotty, we're putting Siakam, an all-star, on the bench, which minutes go pretty good, but you're not going to have that happen, and you can't have these two guys constantly always being together. So the solution which we've come to is that look at all these players that work well together. The ones that don't work well on our starting five, Scotty and Siakam. And I'm sorry, Siakam, you've done amazing things for us. You've been a part of a fantastic, you know,
Era.
era of Raptors basketball. But we keep talking about how that era is dead. We need to move on from it. We need to move into the next phase to really get that new identity, to embrace Darko and what we want to do. And sorry, Siakam, but we need assets, and we let Fred walk without really getting anything except for the media being like, "Oh, look at this team letting Fred walk. Haha, they can't do it." Like, we don't need round two of that. We really don't.
Bro, like we can't handle round two of that. Like that is just not an option at this point for us. Um, if we're middling at the trade deadline and we are like in the play-in, even I think even if we're in the play-in, sell Siakam, we are going to end up with the 12th, the 10th, the 8th pick in the draft, and we're going to have to give it to San Antonio, and we're going to lose Siakam for nothing in the offseason, and you're still going to be short pieces to build around Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby and Dennis Schroeder and what else?
Yep.
You know, like, it's just so frustrating that they've been straddling this line since the championship bubble. You know, this line of we can still compete, we can still get there, we still have the talent. And I think after 3 years of being this kind of team,
Yeah.
they would think to themselves like, "All right, nice. It was nice, but like it's over. Let's move into the next phase." You know, that 4th overall pick that we absolutely nailed, slam dunk pick. Let's build around him. Let's build around the next guy, the future. But it's just so frustrating that they're so attached to this guy. Siakam, that is.
And to tangent on your fourth pick, like you look at the narrative around Suggs right now, who for the past 3 years has been a bust of a fifth round pick, who now suddenly is coming out and being great and showing up and stepping up and being a great part of what Orlando is doing in their new rebuild. Like I think about your comment to me earlier with Darko, right, where you don't know if he's coaching for trying to get wins or if he's coaching for the development of the young guys. And for me, that is the front office leaning down on him because that Darko wants that development. He wants to work with the young guys. Obviously, he wants to get wins. But if you think about the mentality of how he is, how excited he gets for wins, right, to bring that team up, that is a type of coach who is trying to build developmental focus, who is trying to bring these guys up to be where they want to be, so that
Build the
when
team
they,
culture.
this is exactly it, right? But I'm over here thinking, I'm sure that there's a part of management, regardless of who it is or what's happening, that's going, we got to get wins in these 20 games to really know if we're good enough before we make any big decisions. And he's over here going, I want this to get better at this and this, but also like, man, if I don't get these wins, I might not have this player, that player, that player. That like this whole building up of what might be happening is leading to a chaotic season where we have these fantastic wins against the Bucks, against the T-Wolves who are running the league, but yet Pistons roll in, slap us down. I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs would beat us right now. Like Wemby could show up and take us down at this point in time. Like we are not a cohesive unit at all.
Well, well, bro, like we play some of the worst teams in the league and we go down by 20 points. Like, yeah, we come back and we win some of those games, but we shouldn't be down 20 points in the first place.
No.
And it's so frustrating, man. It's frustrating to watch because there's too much talent on this team to be doing what we're doing. And the front office signaled when they went with Darko, when they fired Nick Nurse,
Yep.
that there should have been a regime change and a change of direction in the franchise. And unfortunately, we just stayed on the same trajectory on that we're going to stay in the middle. We think that we can compete, but we're not, bad enough to hit the bottom, even if we were to trade Siakam. So we're just going to compete and see what we can do with him.
Yep.
And unfortunately, like it's wasting his time as an NBA player and it's wasting Scotty's time. If we could get, Siakam to a contender and also get shooting and guard play back, that's a win-win for our team,
Yep.
for Scotty, and for Siakam. And yes, I'm sure Siakam wants to go down as one of the, if not the greatest Raptor of all time. Yes, I'm sure he wants to spend the rest of his career with Toronto. Doesn't happen for everybody. And even the greats, man, they don't always just play with one team.
I
It's just
mean,
not the case.
Kyle Lowry wanted it too. It wasn't going to happen. He still talks about how unless he dies beforehand, he's going to retire as a Toronto
A
Raptor. And I'm
Raptor.
with you. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Siakam can do the same thing, man. And we'll always love him. We'll always respect him. We'll always say that he did great things for our franchise. But that time is just past. And I think that you have to let these things end gracefully and early
Yeah.
instead of what we're doing. And what we're doing is we're just drawing it out as long as we can, and it's just fumbling around. And we got one good year in the middle of three bad
We'll
ones.
do the Canadian version of kicking the can down the road. We got a nice ice chunk that we're kicking down the sidewalk, but it's a little bit warmer these days. So every time we kick it, a little bit breaks off. Yeah, we're gonna end up with no more ice chunk. In another year or two,
Yeah.
if we just keep kicking this can down the road, which is what we're doing. So
No, exactly. And like you're not setting up Scotty for success in the future. You're not setting up Scotty to want to stay on the team. Um, so like it's a frustrating one for me, man. And Masai and Bobby have to figure this one out. And whoever is in charge of our wing scouting, great job. You should go and fire the person who's in charge of our guard scouting because that guy can't do anything.
Just take over.
I mean, geez, man, like the last good guard that we drafted, like I, Terrence Ross, me. But you got to go back to DeMar for like a surefire guard that we drafted.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even Norm Powell being good, like he's just good. Like he's
Right.
serviceable.
Shout out
He's
to
like
Lon
maybe
Wright.
above
Yeah,
average.
yeah, being okay, but again, somebody who is gonna be a starting caliber player for multiple years and can
All star.
compete a la Kyle Lowry style, a la DeMar DeRozan style. That's what we're looking for right now. But any more? Is your baseball bat nice and broken? Anywhere else you want to lead to, or should we talk about the games ahead and then move on to the rest of the league?
Bro, I mean, we can talk about the fact that we're gonna go 0-3 against three of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, but like, I mean, that's just gonna be depressing. I mean, we played the Hornets, the Hawks, and the what,
Next,
the Knicks,
yeah, yeah. Hornets, which I
bro.
don't even think LaMelo will be back for. Who, you know what? Trap game will probably lose. Knicks, Randall's been playing absolute garbage all season. He's probably going to put a 40 against us.
Except for
And
that other game in the play-in tourney,
you're
man
right.
dropped
Yeah, yeah.
41.
You're
They were
right. You're right.
they were flying, man. They really wanted to beat the Bucks, but you know, be honest.
They got that history line. And then the Hawks, man, I feel like the Hawks have been flying under the radar. They've been really efficient. They've been great 3-point shooting. I mean, it's Trae Young. He's going to do what he does. So,
Bro, they're
I
only
mean,
one game better than us.
I didn't say they were
You're
doing
talking about them like
well.
they're world beaters. Like we can't. Like we have no shot. Like
That is how the locker room of
that's
the
the
Toronto
problem.
Raptors feel right now. That's the motto that we're going for and feeling. So
Well,
okay,
I don't know if you
anything?
brought it up, man,
Yeah, yeah.
but the last thing I want to say is like the issue is shooting. It's been shooting since last year. It's been shooting since the year before. We don't have shooting. And when we hit our shots, we look great. We look
Absolutely.
unbeatable. When we don't, teams just dare us to shoot. That's what the Knicks did, man. They
Yeah.
just dared us to shoot. Gave us wide open look after wide open look after wide open look. Just didn't knock them down. And like it's embarrassing, man. You guys are professional NBA players. This should be something that you do. And the organizational mandate that like you can teach shooting, can you?
Look, I
Has
haven't
it
felt
has it happened?
it has no. I haven't felt this like teeter tottery about the Raptors shooting since I had to watch Marcus All take a 3-point shot consistently during our championship. You never knew if it was gonna sink it straight in or absolutely dink off the backboard. So that's how we are right now.
Bro, Marcus All is at least good and a center. Like, like you don't expect him to do it. I was actually thinking about like that Marcus All, Brooke Lopez, where you can be a very solid defensive center, but also stretch the floor and hit the threes.
Yeah,
And if like you're a young center hoping to play in the NBA, that should be what you're working on. Yes, obviously you want to be a Joel Embiid. Yes, you want to be a Nikola Jokic. You want to
yeah,
be a Giannis. The way to get really good center minutes in the NBA today, if you're not one of those guys, hit your threes, play anchor defense. That's like the key. Could you imagine if we had somebody like that on our team? Bro,
yeah.
we'd be good. We'd be
I miss
actually good.
I even miss the Jonas Valanciunas version of that which we had for a little while. Like we're just missing out, man. Jakob, you're good, man, but again, you're just serviceable. It's just the
And
way
you
the
can't
world.
hit threes.
No, you
And
can't.
like in this league, and for a team that needs as much shooting help as it can get,
Yeah,
that's an issue. Like if he was a big on a team that had a ton of shooting, it's not a big deal that he can't hit threes. He's very good. He's
Jared
a defensive anchor.
Jared Allen takes advantage of that on the Cavaliers. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So okay,
I'm man, Miles Turner hits threes.
yeah,
Like,
Miles Turner absolutely fantastic for the Pacers in the play-in. We'll get to it, but let's move away from the Raptors. I want to talk about the Bulls. I want to talk about the Zach LaVine injury because he's got a foot injury. He's probably not playing again in 2023. They're saying he's out for sure till Christmas. But all the rumbling I'm hearing is that this could be the end of his Bulls career. He's pissed off. The games aren't going well now. 3 wins in a row for this team. Maybe they don't need him, so maybe this is even more fuel to the fire of trading him away. But what's your thoughts on this Chicago team, and where do you think Zach LaVine should go if he was to get traded?
um, I don't know where Zach LaVine should go, man. I think that's a tough one. I also think that he's not necessarily a winning player. Um, he's an empty stats calorie kind of guy, which is fine. Like, like those players still need to be in the league, and he's fantastic. He's a high flyer. He's definitely a top 50 player, top 30 player in the NBA. 30's high for me. I'd probably say top 40.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's it. Like he's a top 40 player who needs the ball in his hands and is a inefficient high volume shooter. Like that's the 90s. That's the early 2000s. That's not the 2023 NBA. The 2023 NBA is what Tyrese Halliburton is doing. And
Yeah,
Zach
yeah,
LaVine
yeah.
is just not that guy. So to me, like I think the Bulls are better off without him. I think it's kind of clear. I just don't know which kind of team would take him. And if I'm a contender, I really don't want to give up a ton of assets for this guy who's really proven absolutely nothing in his NBA career. Like, yeah, okay, he had sweet, sweet dunk contest moments,
Right.
and he's been an all-star.
It's such an interesting situation, right? Because, I think about guys like Aaron Gordon, Andrew Wiggins. There's certain players that have been able to go from being empty salary cat guys on stat guys on teams that haven't meant anything to finding that right role position. I'm like, can Zach LaVine follow in those footsteps on a team? Can Bradley Beal do that? Right? Like, there's these certain characters, these certain guys that you're asking what they're going to be for this team, and I'm with you on I don't see a good fit. Right? The Lakers don't want to give up too much for a guy that can shoot when D'Angelo Russell's been playing pretty good this season in terms of his shooting caliber. And
Yeah.
I think about the rest of the league, and I'm like, a lot of the contenders have their shooting guard, have that guy in that position, and so
Mhm.
it's a tough place. So I don't know if they're going to trade him. I don't know if it's the right time, but I definitely think the Bulls are starting to accept the reality of their situation that Lonzo probably ain't coming back, and if he does come back, it ain't going to be in time or with enough happiness and confidence in this team to really do anything this year, and maybe not even next.
Bro, I think that it's just over for them. They did what we are on the path of doing. Middling, 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 middling. Make a huge trade for a center that doesn't work out. I mean, Yax isn't as big as Vucevic, but trade,
Yeah,
build
yeah,
this, core of elite, high level NBA players, and just do nothing with it. And they've been middling, and we're middling, and they're a very good mirror for us,
yeah.
and it's something that I want the Raptors to avoid. And Zach LaVine is their Siakam. He is, and they got to get rid of him. And I just don't know where he's gonna go. Most people would say that he fits with the Raptors,
Yeah, I'm
which I
fair.
just yeah, like who
My
like
hope,
I don't want to trade Siakam for Zach LaVine. Like that's no, I want to use Siakam to get like picks.
yeah.
Personally, I
My
want
hope
first
is
overall
that
picks.
if this team decides to collapse, that we can somehow steal Alex Caruso out from under for nothing, because that guy, fantasy champion for me consistently for years. But yeah, Bulls fans, tough time right now. I know that nobody's happy. At least you're not the Pistons fans. You could be feeling worse right now. Jalen Duren's out. Giannis talking
At least
about the
you're not.
rich getting richer. This is the poor getting poorer. Like, you feel bad for
Yeah,
Pistons at this point in time. Cade is trying, but you can only do so much when this roster is full of rejects, guys that aren't working out, injuries galore left and right. Like, what was it, 16 losses last week? We're at 18 now. Like, it keeps piling up over there in Detroit, man. It's a little wild.
I thought they were gonna be decent. I
Me
really did.
too.
I really thought they were gonna be better than the Washington Wizards, but I guess I'm wrong, man. I don't know. Monty Williams, man, like really not showing that he's a good coach right now. Like that's bad. 18.
We might be in for the worst NBA season in history. I'm serious. They're
Really?
basically 2-20. We're almost, like, we're more than a quarter of the way through the season. So if this
Yeah.
sticks, they're going 8-60, 8-64. Worst record in NBA history. Like, this has to change. Something has to happen. Like,
With the
it is.
Spurs also losing 15 straight and not even close to the longest losing streak.
It
Like,
is
what are we doing?
the bottom of the table right now. I joke, I talk about how, we're ready for expansion, but these teams coming out here saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we got to put a halter on that because we are hot garbage and we want those draft picks. Don't give them to anybody else. Like,
Bro, I almost feel like that about us.
uh,
Bro, you can't expand the league. What kind of shooting talent are we gonna get then?
bro, the other hilarity to add to this is, I was looking at the Spurs. I was looking at the Spurs the other day and I was like, oh, they're not gonna put out Sohan at point guard today. They're gonna do it out. They're gonna change it out. No, Chetty Osman for point guard. Well done, man. Popovich has
I feel like
he's got so much plot armor with his job secure that he's like, we're getting another draft pick. It's fine. We don't need to win games this year. It's crazy. Like, it's insane what they're
he's like
doing down
he
there.
saw Wemby in like game 4 drop that 38 points, and he's like, "All right, I've seen enough.
We
We're
need this
tanking."
guy. We need this guy. We need him to get a homie. We got to get this guy his Scottie Pippen. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god.
We're going for the first overall draft pick again. We're gonna pair him and Wemby. We're gonna trade everybody else.
Like, it's it's crazy, man.
No,
I expected. We talked about the last couple of years. We've seen so much parity in the league. We've seen some good things, and we've seen so many of these rebuilding teams find a talent or two, figure it out, and win some games. I was not ready for the dregs of the league that this season has brought out. I cannot believe how few games have won. And like, you know,
nobody.
the Trailblazers are 6-14. The Grizzlies are 6-14. They're not that much more ahead of it, but it just when you have this many games in a row taking L's, like
Bro, in a
it
row.
hurts. In a row. Yeah, that's the oh man.
Ugh.
It
All
hurts.
right, man. Do you want to set up tomorrow's final or what?
I mean, let's talk about the in-season tournament for sure. I think we've made our way there. We've gotten a great storyline so far. On the left side, it's LeBron, timeless, ageless, the king of this league, wanting the next new crown, the next new title in this cup, versus Tyrese, man, the kid who has taken this team and this squad all the way. All right, so I'm pretty hyped about it. I'm pretty excited to see it. Tyrese is a monster. He's him, right? Like, he is the type of guy who has proven that he's not going to be stopped, right? Like, you watch that game against Dame Lillard against the Bucks, and Dame goes up and he hits those shots consistently, like we know Dame does, and Tyrese is right there from the logo almost knocking those shots back against it. But to flip to the other side to talk about LeBron for a little bit, like, this Lakers team is ready, right? They went into the second half of last season ready to shine and wanting to do stuff, and it wasn't their time in the playoffs. And we joke that we're only 20 games in and we're getting, you were saying we're getting Miami Heat LeBron. Like, the guy is rested and ready, and we're in for
Yeah.
a treat tomorrow night, Matt. We are.
Well, man, like to talk about Tyrese Halliburton, your first point, like he's been phenomenal. Like 0 turnovers, the 40-point game, like
Crazy.
he's just been magnificent. And then to like have that young talent kind of showing out the way he is, and to juxtapose it with the oldest talent in the league, he's year 21, man. And we're getting peak LeBron because, like I said, 20 games into the season, man's fresh. He had a whole off season. He's rested his body. They didn't even get to the finals, so it's like a long off season for him typically. And then he's like, "All right, let me show you what I still got in the tank." And this is like unbelievable. This is like more than we've gotten in the playoffs the last couple years, which is a lot. Like he's been great in the playoffs. He's just not had this like absolute killer year. And he's showed that, man. Like waving off Darvin Ham and just, cutting through the defense and splitting two guys for that layup. It's just vintage LeBron. 9 of 12. Like he's my goat, man. He's my goat. I'm a LeBron stan, so what are you gonna do?
At the end of the day, this is an absolute win for Adam Silver in the in-season tournament. Two teams, 6-0, great storylines, showing up at the beginning of the season when nobody cares anymore. At this point in the time, every year we're talking about the couple of cool stories, how the Magic are showing up, how the T-Wolves are running the league. But everyone's like, I'm going to watch a game or two a week. I'll tune into my squad here or there. Oh, Luka's playing against somebody important. Like, for this tournament to have these games that matter and to watch the type of players that have really decided that, you know what, I want to be a part of this. I want to step up. I want that $500,000. Like, however they're looking at it, it has been a success story. And Fans are in for a treat tomorrow night. I've said it once. I'll keep saying it over and over.
Well, like I think your point of like, this point in the season, it's pretty much a wash. People are kind of still figuring out who they are. There's not a lot of talk about. There may be some cool stories. Some guy drops, a 60-point triple double, whatever. But this has actually been impressive. Like they care. They're fighting for rebounds. They're fighting through screens. They're really really playing like playoff basketball in November or
Yeah.
December. Like this is crazy, and especially with the way that the season tournament started. Like it, yeah, like the teams were playing. It was fun. It was cool. It didn't really look like anybody really truly cared about the games until this final eight. Man, the
Yeah.
final eight has been absolutely awesome, and I would not have expected that from the beginning of that tournament, but hey, man, I'm here for it. The NBA willing to pivot, willing to change, willing to do fun things that, bring their fans in. I just wish, another league would do the same. No,
Shout out to all the
no.
LeBron fans who were the same age as him when he came out of high school, and were sad that he didn't get to run a March Madness table, and are now sitting at home, on their couches with their mortgage and their 15-year-old kids, watching this guy go in and do what he should have done in college X amount of years ago. Like exciting games, exciting things, and I think that obviously it's most likely here to stay at this point. We've seen enough
Oh yeah.
excitement, but I think the players are more awake to it now. You know, I want to see. So
Next is gonna be better.
this is my big change. The controversy that we had with the Celtics running up the table at the end of a game. The only change that I want to see is the back end statistics scoring. I want them to count all the quarters. All the games that you play, you get X amount of points for how many of those quarters you win, and then you get 3 points for winning the game. And then the tiebreakers at the end, instead of running up the games in games four, you go, well, you won 3 games, we won 3 games, but you won 20 quarters and I
Eight
only won
quarters.
8. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like how it would
Yeah, yeah.
work out. Like, I think that would be a great change because that was the only big controversy. Otherwise, I mean, let's not talk about the courts and the jerseys and the trash kind of looks, blah, blah, blah. They're going to, apparently they know about it and they're on it and they're going to make it better for the years to come. But I think that little tweaks here and there can make this a really exciting tournament on top of what is already the best part of basketball so far this year.
No, man, it's been fantastic. I'm super excited to have these like standalone games, to have these, intense matchups. And that's the fun part, right? Like that's why we watch the NBA, that's why we watch basketball. Marissa always jokes with me because I want to watch the game from start to finish, and she's like, "You only need to watch the last 5 minutes of the game." Like the games aren't really close until the last 5 minutes, and then they start to care. And it's like, yeah, that's how people view the NBA. So this is kind of changing that, and it's man, perfect. Like
The
it's
num
good. Like it's
the
not perfect, but it's getting
the
there.
number of sports fans that aren't NBA fans that I have listened spout those words specifically about basketball. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter. The best players win, or it gets down to the end of the game, watch the last 2 minutes, blah blah blah. But yeah, man, exciting ball, getting to see it happen, and I'll iterate it again. We're in for a treat. LeBron put up 30 points in 3 quarters, the first time in his entire career. My favorite comment that I've realized about this: LeBron is so good that he's able to probably do 30 points in a quarter anytime he wants. But his teams have been so bad over the years that man's had to
Yeah,
come back in the fourth quarter to do it. So he hasn't had the opportunity, most likely, to put up a
it's
30-point
flat.
game and get to sit. We talked about how weeks ago, Darvinham's like, yeah, he's going to play 30 something minutes a night. We're going to keep LeBron to 32 minutes a night. And then he goes out and plays like 46, 42, 43 in the next few games. This is a
Need him.
blessing. This is a blessing for old man LeBron and his knees. You want to talk about him being fresh and ready for the final that we're about to see? Well, that was the best gift the Lakers team could have done for him for sure.
No, man, absolutely. It's kind of crazy to think that that's the first time in 21 years that they've had a good enough team to be up that many points that he can sit in the fourth quarter. Like it's absolutely insane. But hey, man, like the guy's ageless. Michael Jordan could never. Sorry. Look,
Uh,
MJ number two may even have a higher peak than LeBron. You want to call it a higher peak? Winning three straight and three straight. I'll give it a higher peak. Whatever.
yeah,
LeBron.
no, you
No.
got it there. And the other fun statistical interest: Both Legault and Tyrese Halliburton, 0 turnovers in their semifinal games. We're in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. The game tomorrow night is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see it. Apparently, the Lakers don't get to wear their black jerseys, though. Sadness, because, the NBA made like 2/3 of the jerseys black. They probably weren't expecting the Pacers to be in the finals here. As the interviewers keep asking Tyrese, "You're not supposed to be here, right?" And as he keeps saying, they keep telling us, and we keep proving them wrong.
Nice, man. Oh, well, I think that's pretty good, man. You want to go into some hot takes and mystic predictions? You
I'm
want me
gonna
to
have to
start
play.
off?
Oh, let me
Oh,
lead. Let
you
me
go.
lead. Let me lead. Let me go because I like to play around a little bit. I don't like to be basic. And we talked about this legacy versus that legacy, and I want a double win. Okay, Tyrese, my boy, you're amazing. You're fantastic. But it's the Kings' time. Okay, he's probably going to put up maybe 40 points. I expect Tyrese to be the leading point scorer. He's probably going to have like 12 plus assists. Nobody's going to match him on that end. But I can't bet against LeBron, man. I've said it enough times on this podcast over the years. Like, you just don't bet against LeBron in games like this when it matters.
Yeah, man. And especially when like they don't have that like clear player on his level. Like I know Tyrese is getting to that level, but he's young and he's not established there yet. But he's
And
getting there.
it's going to be interesting to see what Miles Turner can do against Anthony Davis. I mean, if Anthony Davis puts in 2 points, sorry, Lakers probably going to lose. It's just a fact. But I
Oh yeah.
think that the stage that we're on, the players that they have, the energy that LeBron brings, I expect him and the Lakers to take it away and for LeBron to lift that first cup. Plus, then in 20, 30, 40 years, when this is a staple tournament, they can call it the LeBron Cup if they don't call it the Kobe Cup in a year or two. You know what I mean? Like, be great for
Well,
his
I mean,
legacy.
does Kobe have an award named after him?
He probably does. I'm sure he does at this point.
He does.
I'm sure he does.
I know they named an award after him.
Right?
Whatever. We'll have
Yeah.
to look it up after.
Yeah, yeah.
I could name this one after LeBron, so he needs one. Like he does. Anyways, I'm gonna go with our Raptors, man. I said at the beginning of the podcast, we're gonna go 0-3 this week. We're gonna be 9-15, and hopefully that's enough for the front office to realize, like, sell Siakam, maybe even trade Dennis, maybe trade Yak. Really bottom out, get a top 5-4 pick, and run it back next year and see what happens.
I mean, it has to be one of the extremes, right? We either have to go 0-3 and have our record look bad so that the front office is like, oh, okay. Or the dreaded 3-0 that makes us go 12 or 12-12. And then we're like, hey, we're still middling. We're still competitive. Like, these are the storylines you're potentially in for when you return next week.
Uh, Anyways, man, I think you're good to wrap us up at this point.
Perfect. Well, thanks everybody for being here. Matt's gonna see if his eye starts crying again. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at the Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.